All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So today we are going to be talking about Banshee, the premier kind of Sisters of Parvos and also Lich killer with their new DR that they have. Now, that being said, in this video, we're going to be talking about playing Banshee, also known as trying very, very, very hard to survive in a variety of different ways and attacking that problem from many different angles, but while also being rewarded with killing enemies nearly instantly at pretty much all levels of play. Because that's the Banshee experience as it stands right now. Thankfully, she has some new tools to help keep her alive since the last time that we talked about Banshee, which was quite a while ago. So for this video, we're basically going to be focusing on how Banshee defeats Liches and Sisters of Parvos very, very easily. For doing that, we are using this build. And there are a few tweaks to this build that you could make kind of based on your preference. You could go like Augur Duration instead of the Augur Reach mod. That's an adjustment that you could make. And like you could like maybe think you don't need to have maybe as much ability strength. Maybe you go with a different Augur mod here. Maybe switch Cunning Drift out for Power Drift. There's a few small adjustments to this build that I think you could make and still have like a satisfying experience. But this is what I have decided to go with. And there are a few reasons for that. First and foremost, we have enough strength, whereas Sonar is going to be giving us an 11x damage multiplier per spot. And of course, whenever they overlap, they multiply the damage between each other, and you do hilarious, colossal amounts of damage. And then on top of that, this is going to give us enough range at 145 for Silence to be a nice zone around us that's going to be protecting us. And we have a good amount of duration for this ability as well, making it nearly 40 seconds, and Sonar as well at nearly 40 seconds. And then we have our Helminth ability, which is replacing our 4, which is Gloom. Gloom being Sevagoth's ability, so this build is going to be a bit expensive considering how Sevagoth is not exactly the easiest farm in the game and requires a lot to get. But with Gloom, we have a 78% slow and also lifesteal. The lifesteal, usually not going to matter for Banshee. If something touches your health at higher levels, you kind of just evaporate, but it can come in handy if there are, different status procs or anything like that affecting you and you need to heal up. With this, the 78% slow has a very, very positive interaction specific to Banshee, and that is with Silence. Whenever Silence touches an enemy, they get stunned. That stun has its duration increased by the slow from Gloom. So enemies are going to remain stunned for a very, very long time if they are both in Gloom and affected by Silence, and that is going to do a lot to help keep you alive. But that is not all we are doing to help keep you alive. This build is also going to be running a Decaying Dragon Key, which is going to lower our shields by 75%. We'll go and put that on in a moment, but that will leave us with only 75 shields remaining, and we are utilizing Brief Respite in our Aura slot, and the 2 Augur mods in this build for 80% energy spent on abilities converted to shields from the Augurs, and then another 150% for a total of 230%. With the 75% shields that we go down to, it'll make it so that whenever we cast Sonar for 35 energy, which is the ability that we'd like to spam anyway, it is going to fully refresh our shield gate, giving us 1.3 seconds of invincibility, where we can't die when our shields get broken because we fully restored them. If we weren't doing this Decaying Key strategy, we would only have 0.3 seconds after our first shield breaks, because if you don't let your shields fully recharge, you only get 0.3 seconds instead of 1.3 seconds, so considerably less invulnerability and less time to work with to keep yourself alive and keep casting and keep killing. But in addition to that, we also have Rolling Guard. Rolling Guard is exceptional here because it's going to remove those harmful statuses that you don't want and that would just constantly be killing you, requiring you to constantly be casting in order to not die. And in addition to that, you will be invulnerable for 3 seconds with only a 7-second cooldown. This means that we've got basically 30% uptime on Rolling Guard, and if we're doing it smart, we don't need to use this all the time, and this is kind of our panic button to get out of jail free. So if you don't have the, say if you're missing just like a little tiny shred of energy, where you're going to be able to cast Sonar in a moment, you can roll, then you have 3 seconds of grace period to kind of get your stuff going and get back to where you need to be, maybe get like an Energized proc. And also, speaking of an Energized proc, we are using both Arcane Energize because by necessity of needing to spend a certain amount of energy on our abilities, we can't run higher efficiency than this 130% that we're at. So Arcane Energize is helping with our energy economy, And Prime Flow is, of course, allowing us to store a ton of energy so that it's usually not an issue. In addition, if you have a full set of Arcane Aegis, I would highly, highly recommend it. As Arcane Aegis basically says, a 3% chance to gain 12 seconds of invincibility just due to the way that the constant shield regeneration works on it. It is a super, super powerful effect, and pretty much all the damage that you're going to be taking as Banshee, unless you're going to die, is going to be shield damage. So this is very, very powerful. This can just give you the freedom to really clean up a room full of enemies, especially if you are, for some reason, going to be taking this into solo Steel Path, which I would really not advise, even with all of the kind of safety precautions that I have been talking about with Banshee. It is still very, very easy to just absolutely get floored in the Steel Path, especially if you get one of the acolytes. It's going to turn your abilities off. It's going to be really hard to live then. And they will die very fast, of course, because they are vulnerable to sonar. But it is a pretty rough proposition to have all of those enemies focusing you all of the time, because it basically means that you need to cast sonar every single second in order to be able to deal with all of the enemies. And then you're pretty much always using rolling guard as well. And it is just a very intense time management. In a group, I will say, that becomes way less of a problem because you're going to have all of your different allies that enemies are also going to be able to focus on. So the small amounts of invincibility that you get are usually going to be more than enough to keep you very, very safe, as long as there's more than just you to focus on. So with that, we are going to be showing this build. And the other important note here is because this is for killing the Sisters of Parvos, and also for killing the Liches, we are going to be showing it with the Sidoo. The Sidoo is an absolutely amazing, incredible weapon at this point. This is the new build for it. There is some, variance here. If you want to use primary dexterity, that's going to be absolutely fine. If you're going to be more into melee weapons for the majority of the time that you're playing, I wouldn't particularly recommend Deadhead, but you might be able to get away with it. I think Merciless overall is going to be much, much better. And the Sidoo, notably, really appreciates the extra reload speed that you're going to be getting as well. So this is what the new build is looking like so far. This is not like super final or anything, but I think this is generally the direction that most people are going to head on the Sidoo. And it has been very, very positive for me so far. The only thing that I think might be a pretty easy switch out is you might not need the range that you get from Galvanized Acceleration, and this could easily be like an ammo mutation instead to take advantage of, kind of having unlimited ammo whenever you do that. Doesn't seem necessary to me, though, as it stands right now. With all of that being said, we are not going to be doing a Kuva Fortress Steel Path survival with Banshee, because I literally just would not recommend that you do that with this Warframe. There are so many better Warframes for that purpose. Banshee is a surgical tool to be used whenever she is most effective, and that kind of a mission just really isn't that for her. We are, however, going to be showing two different encounters that I have had with Sisters of Parvos. One of them, I use a regular weapon, which is the Kuva Core attack, which is, a regular weapon now, but is actually quite good. And then the other one, we use the Sidoo. So you can see the difference between using the extremely powerful and very effective against the Sisters of Parvos Sidoo versus a more regular weapon, so that you can compare and kind of see what you're going to get no matter which way that you go. We are, however, also going to be showing just what this build does. This is a very, very safe build for regular star chart and stuff. If you want to do this on regular enemies, I think you're going to have a great time. Basically, Gloom just makes you safe enough, and enemies at the lower levels are not going to have such a big... Oh, also, very important thing that we should do here. We should go and equip our Decaying Key. There we go. There we go. Now you can see we only have the 75 shields, and then you can see the return on our energy, where we go to 155, so we're going to be fully restoring our shields even if we're at 0. That's the important note there. And that will be also true of Silence as well. So those are going to be the abilities you're going to always be casting, so you'll be all amped up and ready to go. All right, now let's jump into here. These are level 180 enemies. And they are not going to pose much threat at all to Banshee whenever Gloom and Silence are active together. As you can see, they are very, very slow, and it is very much not a big deal. Yeah, enemies don't really have too much of a shot. like mostly just showing off the stun there and like how safe it is for Banshee just kind of be hanging out. But yeah, whenever you have them under the effects of silence stuff, if you are working through those enemies quickly, they are going to be dealt with in short order by whatever powerful weapon you've decided to bring alongside your Banshee. Yeah, that's basically what Banshee is up to. Hopefully you guys enjoy the couple of clips that I have of some of these Sisters of Parvos encounters that I've had. It is notable that I do die in one of them because I don't use Rolling Guard like I should be in the situation, and I'm too focused on looking at the damage numbers I'm getting. But regardless, I think there's some pretty good examples of how fast Banshee can take down the Sisters of Parvos, and she is a fantastic option for anyone who has been having trouble. Hopefully this video has been useful to you, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, this seems like the one.
Spectres down. This must now be your final stand, sister.
Ah, fuck.
I could make a better opponent by stuffing Clan's pajamas with rags. I would kill for a biotic.
Yeah, it takes much longer with this. The Sidoo is instant kill. I should have, like, probably rolling guarded into it, but, like, I was just looking at the damage numbers more so than anything else, so it's whatever.